Hello and welcome to another episode of the Man on Second podcast. As always, my name is Eric Wiedeke, and today I am joined, as always, by Joe Frisaro. How you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing great, Eric. Fun times right now. If you see, I've
Yep,
been up in Jupiter. I got the new merch. I got the new spring training merch. Got the These are really nice. When you're at Roger Dean Stadium, stop by the booths and get your Marlins merch. But yeah, it's great. The things are picking up. Obviously, the Soler deal. And we're going to jump right into that. But first, let's give a little plug for our friends at Dugout Mugs.
absolutely.
As you see, you got the aluminum bat version, dugout mugs. It's a great gift, great to bring to the ballpark, great to sit at home and watch. You see the link if you like what we're doing, you want to help us out. Click on that link below, dugoutmugs.com/man on 2ND. Order yours today, and that would help us out. We appreciate it, and we appreciate our friends at Dugout Mugs. But Eric, what's your thoughts? The Marlins, a little more clarity. We did the podcast after it came out that Soler was going to be signing with the Marlins. Did that instant analysis. We've had a few days to think about it more. What are your thoughts right now? What this all means?
Yeah, so as I kind of dug a little bit deeper into the numbers, and the more that I kind of look at everything, the more I like it. Um, I did and I still do, I guess, have some concerns about the outfield defensively. Although, if you look at advanced metrics in terms of just like raw athleticism and sprint speed in the outfield, things like that, you do get the sense that a guy like Jesus Sanchez, maybe as he gets more comfortable and gets more reps in center field, could, be
Serviceable.
a serviceable center fielder. He's not going to be a gold glover. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody's arguing that, but he can be north of bad. Um, and I think that that's a fair expectation, slash hope for him. But more importantly, I think Jorge Soler, as you kind of look through the numbers, you look at it and it's kind of a tale of up and downs for him. And I think that really Jorge Soler is a player that if you dig into the numbers, when he gets the opportunities to play and hit on a consistent basis, he's a guy that does typically produce when he's given that regular role throughout, a season. Because you look at his numbers, and somebody brought this up on Twitter. I don't remember exactly who, but as I look at it, you look at his splits by batting order position, and you know he's got an OPS plus over 100 of every single position, 1 through 5.
Yep.
Um, and he's downright really productive when he's hitting 4 or 5. So when he's given that vote of confidence to be an everyday player, he can really be you know a solid producer in the lineup, and I think that's what the Marlins are going to give him. So I'm a lot more hopeful even than I was a couple nights ago about the deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm strangely optimistic as well over this one. For one, I think Cuban born, already a home in Miami. So there's going to be a comfort zone now, a comfort level. Now, sometimes that works negatively if you're a little
Right.
too comfortable with distractions of living in Miami. But I think he's going to really connect with his teammates and with our market. And it's always good to have really solid Cuban players in our market to identify with. So I think he'll be a fan favorite. I think the way the contract's structured, 3 years, 36 million with opt outs after years 1 and 2, which what that adds his incentive for a big year, to produce. And if so, and he leaves after 1 year, well, Burdick, Blade, they're in the wings. Maybe they're ready for that. Maybe he likes it here and he opts to stay. I think he jumped to 15 million next year. I think it was something like 9, 15, 12, whatever the
Yeah.
breakdown was. So there's incentive for him to perform. And also keep in mind, like you note about where he hits or confidence, Brian Snicker hit him lead off in the World Series,
Yep.
and he was the World Series MVP. Uh, Foremost, is he the best free agent they targeted? No. I mean, he wasn't on my list. We all know I like Nick Castellanos. Of the four, now these were kind of the four primary free agents: Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, Michael Conforto, Jorge Soler. Those were the four they were playing around with. Conforto, his money again. Scott Boras' client as Nick Castellanos. If you're not going to go in the 100 million range, are you better going to the 36 for a guy who, if you're catch on the right year, and he's had a 48 home run season. Conforto's coming off a down year. This guy Soler had a very good second half with the Braves, World Series MVP. We know he can produce, but foremost, what does he do to the Marlins lineup and their culture? Now Brian Anderson can hit 7. Keep that in mind. Jesus Sanchez can hit 6 without the pressure of having to play center field. And you could go with like a Jazz, Soler, Cooper, Avisal, Aggie, Sanchi, Andy, down to Stallings and Rojas. I mean, that's a much longer, deeper lineup than the Marlins have had. It's not the greatest lineup in baseball, but there's some solid guys. And I also find fascinating, Eric, that from all indications from multiple people within the organization, Jesus Sanchez, it's going to go to center, Avisal Garcia and right, Soler and left. There's obviously DH possibilities in there. They intend to keep Cooper and Aguilar. They're not looking to move any established threat bats. So they're going to sacrifice a little bit with outfield defense, much like the Phillies are, for run production. And keep this in mind. I was also reminded of this. We all love Adam Duvall. He's not a natural center fielder, but where was he playing in a World Series? The highest performance stage, center field. So I think that they feel that their infield defense is good enough. Their pitching is good enough. Occasional, if they make the routine plays in the outfield, they'll be fine as long as they're not butchers. And keep in mind, John Birdie is going to have a much bigger role, and John Birdie's going to play a lot of center field to help out in the late innings. He's not a natural center fielder either, but he has speed, and John Birdie's a gamer, and he finds a way. But that's kind of the little plan there. I find it fascinating, but as you note, Soler, you break the numbers down, seems more attractive in this lineup.
Yeah, and to be fair, the Marlins, they were a 65 win team last year, and you are what your record says you are. But I think it's also important to note that, even in the beginning part of the season, they struggled with injuries, and that kind of derailed them. And then as their records started to, as they started to fall out of the race, they decided to make moves to kind of, okay, let's bring in a guy like Luzardo, let's trade away Starling Marte. They started to make those moves to kind of, have eyes towards the future. And obviously that kind of left them with, towards the end of the season where you're trotting out a lineup with,
a non-competitive lineup.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside of 4 or 5 guys.
Right. So as you get to that point, and that was kind of where they were for a majority of the season, really. So, it's really going to test the theory of, with this starting pitching, you only need a little bit more offense to become a really competitive roster.
Yeah, interesting point. I still think when you see what the Phillies are running out, I'm giving them an example. When you could go whatever combination, I could see them going with Segura maybe leading off, and then going with like Castellanos, Harper, Real Muto, Schwarber, or even maybe what if Schwarber leads off? Schwarber left, Castellanos, Harper, Real Muto, Hoskins, however they want to roll it. That is a bear of a lineup. The Mets, when they're hot, with Starling Marte, Lindor, or Nimmo at the top probably for the speed, and Marte, Lindor, Alonso, Canna. They got some real thunder as well. The Braves, even without Freddie Freeman, they're that lineup's gonna be hard to navigate. The Nationals, not as much. Obviously Soto's the big threat there. I just think now you're so with the Braves, the Dodgers, they're getting Freeman. Everyone's wanting the super lineup now.
Right.
Let's get the run production, worry about where they play. And hopefully they're just not butchers out there. So I think it's fascinating little new trend because, if they wanted the Gold Glove team, then you could go sign Juan Lagares and you could sign, you could just try to load up there. But I think they're going to play adequate enough defense to give it. But they also, by making this move now, give themselves the final 2.5 or so weeks of spring training to see if Sanchi looks comfortable there. And they didn't, mortgage the farm for, Brian Reynolds. Possibility of revisiting that and still. but they didn't mortgage a farm there. And then if you have to go make some sort of deal to get maybe a little bit more of a defensive minded, still quality offensive guy, then you can make that trade as well.
Yeah, and a good point by you there on the super lineups. I do wonder from a team building perspective how some of the rule changes that are being implemented, well, at least talked about being implemented, namely the shift ban or restriction, what have you. If that does get implemented, it'll be interesting to see with the ball in with the ball in play more, does that kind of hurt teams a little bit more, that they're kind of playing fast and loose with positions. I think that'll be interesting to see as far as the game of baseball goes in general over the next year or two. Um, but getting back to what you said, yeah, I think it's important that they got this deal out of the way, that they can see what they have with Sanchez in center field, and if they do need to make a move to get a more defensive minded guy, better glove, they can do that. I still think that they have, like you said, John Birdie is a pretty good defensive center fielder. Um, even a guy like De La Cruz, even though it kind of feels like he's going to get lost in the fold a little bit.
Yeah, he's going to struggle to make the team. He might be one of those final guys. It seems like Birdie's safe. De La Cruz going to have to play his way on. Obviously, we don't know, guys. We're talking today. There's still a lot of games to be played. Guys get hurt and so forth. So you never know. But just giving a little there. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, I mean De La Cruz. I guess it's the one thing with him is, if he's not going to make the team, I'd like to see if they can't test the waters on getting something for him before deciding to just outright DFA him, if that's the case, or starting him in AAA or what have you. Because I do think maybe he showed enough to intrigue somebody to give you, a fringe piece somewhere, something that can be useful if you're not going to use them.
Yeah. Again, he's going to have to show in spring that what he did last year. But you're right; he looks like a baseball player, and it looks like he could either be part of a package or part of your depth. And always remember, we of the guys we've mentioned, Cooper, Aguilar, and Anderson all have came off surgery, and
Right.
had histories of injuries in the past. So you need that depth. I just want to really quickly address. You made a really good point about shifting. I think if you were playing, like you say, fast and loose on the defense, if as long as your infielders aren't that,
True.
what's going to happen now is, your outfielders still, they can position them, but the infielders, now you're going to want a shortstop with range, a second baseman with range. You can't get by as much with less range shortstop or a weaker arm shortstop. Just position them here, and the ball be hit to him because he got three other guys over there. So that does seem to be coming. That that rule change with two, no more than two players on one side of the base. So I think the outfield. That's why I think the Phillies and Marlins will be a little safer. I think the Marlins feel Garcia is a plus right fielder defensively. So interesting points though on the strategy of it. I'm sure it's going to be fun actually to see how it all plays
Right. No,
out.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And to that point, I mean, it feels like just about every pitcher, the emphasis today anyways, and it's part of the reason why teams don't care as much, I guess, about the outfield is, the emphasis on pitchers these days is we want ground balls. That is,
Yes.
So if you've got a staff that you're confident can produce a lot of ground balls, that's another thing that takes pressure off of, maybe having the subpar defensive outfield.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's kind of move on.
Mhm.
What do you? Okay, we addressed Soler. Last thing with him, I expect in the next day or two, it'll be official and he'll be on the field. So what's next? What do you do? You're Kim Ang. You got your power hitter. Now, do you go get bullpen? Do you emphasize maybe more that you still go in hot and heavy on Reynolds, or you feel that the asking price is too high and you're just ready to move on? Maybe revisit at the end of July. And how big of a priority is the back end of your bullpen?
Man, I really like the idea of going and trying to solidify the bullpen if possible. Reynolds right now, I think that he still should be, maybe not. I don't think he should be the number one priority at this point. I think you've got pretty much the team that you're going to have for a good portion of the season, the majority of the season. I think having the extra playoff spots kind of takes that pressure off where you feel like you
Mhm.
need to be complete going into the season. I think it's fine to go into the season with maybe one or two holes and kind of hope to hang on until you can address that at the deadline. Um, and I think that that's where the Marlins are. I think they're good enough to at least kind of be in that race. Um, but as far as that goes, I'm looking for a back end of the bullpen arm.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, and it could, and very well, and it could very well be on the roster right now. You know, a guy like Anthony Bender could build off of what he did last year and catch lightning in a bottle. But I would like to bring in a guy that's been there, done that in that role. I
Yeah,
do.
I sense they're going to go with Dylan Floro to close, Bender to set up at least for now, and then pretty much what they had last year. I think they're going to bank more on their starters going deeper to
Yes.
make the bullpen better. They do have guys like Neidert, Holloway, some of these other guys, Castanos, that are those kind of starters. But I think they may have a home in the bullpen in maybe those bridge innings. So I think they're going to go there. But I think it was important to get the bat need addressed because they have the rest of spring to test the waters. And if they have to make a prospect trade, they didn't move three of the prospects they were hoping not to move because they moved them for Reynolds. You still have that flexibility to kind of maybe do that one for one, trade. I tell you, no one's really talking about it. But I think there's interest in Pablo Lopez. I don't think the Marlins are ready to move him. But on the big league roster, there are a lot of teams that always mention his name. So are the Marlins that confident they got their starting pitching depth that they would do that? I can't see how you can move Pablo and expect to compete, but I'm just throwing that out there that his name is hot and heavy. But yeah, again, I think they're I don't think they're done. I think a trade will happen by opening day. Could be a bullpen if it makes sense, but I also think they're in a position not to force it. Yeah, as we kind of get closer to, we're going to do these pods a little bit, with now that the season's getting going. They're not going to be as long as the off season, so we're going to move these along and and have more of them for you guys. But what do you think now? Are the Marlins spenders? Are they ever going to be big spenders?
Um, I don't think it's impossible, and I don't think that this is I don't think it's ever going to be like consistently. I don't think they're ever going to be consistent spenders, but I do think that it's possible, and I do think, and I think that it's worth noting, and maybe it's because I've kind of entrenched myself in the space a little bit more. I'm not sure if this is something that you've noticed, and I'm curious to see if it's going to kind of, you know, if the trend that I'm seeing is going to show itself in attendance numbers as well. But overall, I think this year's team has more. I'm seeing more interest specifically, on social media in the Marlins than I have in the last few years.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an encouraging sign for, maybe there is a little bit more meat left on the bone in the market. And I think that if you can kind of really capitalize on that and maybe you don't have to win a World Series, but be competitive the next 2, 3 seasons to kind of continue to build what you're starting to see now. I think it's not impossible that the market does end up maybe not ever becoming a top five market, but they can be in that consistently 12 to 18 range, I think.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree. And that's one reason I've been kind of optimistic and bullish on South Florida baseball. I still think it's a sleeping giant. Good point. Just real quick, the Phillies spend $179 million on Castellanos and Schwarber. The Marlins this offseason, $145 million on when you count Sandy Alcantara's extension at $56 million, Avisal Garcia's contract at $53 million and the $36 million to Jorge Soler. So it's $89 million for Soler and Garcia. So they are spending. I think where they kind of got set up was when Bruce Sherman very exuberantly
Right.
last Monday on the first day said, "We have money, we're going to spend it." I think he might have been a little over anxious in his approach and raised expectation. I think he should have more tempered it to we have resources to make strategic moves. We will spend when we feel necessary. And I will leave you with this. I could tell from talking to people, they were very. They just got Wei and Chen to whatever leftover money was owed to him, and Stanton. Remember, they paid off about 20 or so million
Right.
on the Stanton deal. They basically just got those off their books. I think as much as they like Castellanos, as much as I like Castellanos, I think they're fearful of, let's say, for the years 4 and 5 are not so good, and that's $40 million on their books. I think that they were very leery of it, and so they didn't want to fall into having any type of bad contract. And on the flip side, they've now created more of contract, payroll flexibility, their favorite expression. But I do think they have money. I think they needed to kind of temper the message, which set themselves up. But I think it was important that they did show they did spend, AAV of 12 million for which goes on their books towards their cap number or their tax number on Soler. So we'll leave it at that. I also want to remind before Eric takes us out, here at Man on Second, as we're growing this and we're getting a lot of new people watching. Yes, we're very heavy on the Marlins. Everyone knows my background, 20 years covering the Marlins. But, Man on Second, as part of 5 Reasons Sports Network as well, we're going to be touching a lot on all baseball, especially with a slant on Florida. We're going to follow, the good college players that you need to know about, the good high school players you need to know about locally in the state, and the good players from the state. Castellanos is from here. We'll monitor him. Tristan Casas, all these guys that are Jonathan India, we'll be monitoring him. We'll have a lot more. We didn't get to the Rays. We're going to get to the Rays more in upcoming episodes, but we got it rolling now, and we're excited, and we welcome everyone aboard and hope you stay with us because we're going to grow this. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Eric, any last words you have, and then take us out, my friend.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I'm excited to see the renewed energy around baseball in the market, and I'm excited to see what this season brings, not just for the Marlins, but like you said, for the entire league. I think a lot of the changes that we're seeing are going to make the game uh, really fun to watch, and it's going to be fun to see it all play out. So I'm going to be looking forward to covering it all here. And if you want to watch us cover it all here, you can catch us on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel, or you can catch all of our podcasts live on our Twitter. That would be Man on Second. That's at Man on 2ND. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you again sometime soon. I believe Thursday night, correct?
Yeah. Thursday night or on Friday with Mike. We're getting Mike back in the fold as well. So again, thanks everyone. Thanks Eric, and get up to Jupiter. Go follow wherever you are. Go to a spring training game. Go to college games. Go to high school games. Baseball's back, and it's looking like it's going to be pretty fun.
Absolutely, can't wait.